Are African leaders genuinely serving the interests of their people, or are some merely advancing the agendas of foreign powers? This question grows more urgent as African nations seek unity through regional collaborations like the Confederation of Sahel States. In this context, Burkina Faso's President Ibrahim Traoré recently made headlines by rejecting two West African countries from joining the Sahel Confederation, sparking debates about their alignment with Western interests. But who are these nations? Why were they denied entry? Let's delve deeper into this decision and its broader implications for West Africa. President Ibrahim Traoré, a vocal proponent of African sovereignty, has been at the forefront of advocating for the Sahel Confederation. The Confederation, currently comprising Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger, is founded on shared cultural, social, and economic similarities. Traoré envisions this bloc as a platform to counter external interference and foster a self-reliant Africa. His recent announcement outlined the principles governing membership, emphasizing that only nations with comparable developmental stages, cultural ties, and a commitment to independence from external exploitation could join. This policy excluded Ivory Coast and Ghana, two nations whose economic structures and foreign alignments differ significantly from the Confederation's foundational principles. The Sahel Confederation is more than a regional alliance. It is a bold step toward realizing the long-held dream of African unity. Traoré's vision revolves around creating a stable and equitable partnership based on shared values and mutual respect. This approach seeks to dismantle systems of exploitation, particularly neo-colonial economic dependencies perpetuated by foreign powers like France. By uniting nations with similar challenges and goals, the Confederation aims to build a resilient bloc capable of resisting external manipulation and achieving sustainable development. At its core, the Confederation rejects the inclusion of nations with vastly different economic and political systems. Traoré argues that unity must be founded on equality, where no member state wields disproportionate influence over others. By excluding countries like Ivory Coast and Ghana, which have deeper economic ties with Western powers and differing development trajectories, the Confederation ensures that its policies remain untainted by external pressures. The rejection of Ivory Coast and Ghana underscores Traoré's determination to protect the Confederation from potential economic imperialism within the bloc. Both nations, despite their proximity to the Sahel region, have strong economic links to former colonial powers, particularly France. Their inclusion could risk introducing unequal power dynamics and undermining the bloc's anti-colonial stance. Traoré's vision is to create a union that prioritizes African agency, free from the dominance of foreign-influenced economies. This decision also reflects a critique of nations that continue to permit external exploitation. Traoré's announcement indirectly highlighted the continued reliance of some African countries on French economic systems, such as the CFA franc currency, which ties their economies to France. By excluding such countries, the Confederation sends a strong message. Only those willing to break free from neo-colonial systems can contribute to a truly independent Africa. President Traoré's stance is emblematic of a broader resistance against neo-colonial influences in Africa. The Sahel Confederation's formation is a response to decades of economic exploitation and political interference by Western powers. Traoré's rejection of Ivory Coast and Ghana is not merely about economic disparities, but also about ideological differences. His government seeks to champion a grassroots approach to development, prioritizing local empowerment and rejecting systems that favor foreign elites over African citizens. By keeping the Confederation focused on nations with shared struggles and aspirations, Traoré ensures that its policies align with the collective goal of ending economic subjugation. This stance resonates with the Confederation's broader objectives of cultural and economic independence, as well as its rejection of systems that perpetuate inequality. The exclusion of Ivory Coast and Ghana from the Sahel Confederation is a significant moment in West Africa's political evolution. It highlights a growing divide between nations seeking true independence and those perceived as aligned with Western interests. While this decision might strain regional relations, it also sets a precedent for future alliances built on mutual respect and shared goals. Traoré's announcement underscores the urgent need for African nations to re-evaluate their relationships with foreign powers. By prioritizing unity based on equality and cultural affinity, the Sahel Confederation offers a model for sustainable regional cooperation. As this bloc grows, its success could inspire other African nations to break free from neo-colonial systems and join the movement towards self-reliance. Add your voice to the total liberation of Africa by leaving a comment in the comments section below. Do not forget to like and subscribe for more informative videos like this one. Let's proceed. The complex historical and political ties of West African nations like Ivory Coast and Ghana to their former colonial powers, specifically France, highlight a divide that influences their alignment with new regional alliances like the Sahel Confederation. Ivory Coast, a former French colony from the 1840s until its independence in 1960, has maintained strong political and economic links to France. This enduring relationship is a key factor in its exclusion from the Sahel Confederation, an alliance currently comprising Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger. This confederation seeks to foster unity based on shared cultural and economic characteristics, free from the lingering effects of colonial exploitation and external manipulation. France's involvement in Ivory Coast began in the 17th century, evolving into full colonial control during the scramble for Africa in the late 19th century. Through policies of assimilation and cultural dominance, France imposed its language, culture, and administrative systems on the Ivorian population. The French administration used direct colonial rule to control economic and social structures, exploiting Ivory Coast's fertile lands for agricultural production, which heavily benefited the French economy. Even after gaining independence in 1960, Ivory Coast remained tethered to France through economic mechanisms like the CFA franc, a currency backed by the French treasury and tied to the euro. This dependency has continued to shape Ivory Coast's economic policies and its place in regional dynamics. Ghana, under British colonial rule until 1957, experienced a different form of colonial governance. The British relied on indirect rule, working through local leaders to administer the colony, creating a distinct post-colonial trajectory. Unlike Ivory Coast's direct ties to France, Ghana's interactions with its former colonizer were less economically entrenched. Despite this, Ghana has cultivated close diplomatic and economic ties with France in recent years, fostering a relationship that critics argue aligns it more with Western interests than with the Pan-African ideals of unity and self-reliance championed by the Sahel Confederation. President Ibrahim Traoré of Burkina Faso has emphasized that the Sahel Confederation aims to create a stable and just union by uniting nations with shared cultural and economic foundations. The inclusion of Ivory Coast and Ghana, countries with starkly different economic realities and long-standing ties to France, would undermine this vision. Traoré's decision to exclude these nations reflects his broader commitment to resisting neocolonialism and fostering true African sovereignty. In particular, Ivory Coast's ongoing dependence on French economic policies and its interventionist stance in regional matters have raised suspicions. Recent tensions, such as allegations of Ivory Coast's involvement in destabilizing activities in Burkina Faso, have further highlighted the stark divide. President Traoré has accused France of using Ivory Coast and Benin as bases for covert military operations aimed at undermining Burkina Faso's anti-neocolonial efforts. Under Traoré's leadership, Burkina Faso has become a vocal critic of French policies in Africa. His administration has accused France of fostering instability in the region to maintain its influence. By excluding Ivory Coast and Ghana, Burkina Faso sends a clear message. The Sahel Confederation will not be a platform for perpetuating French economic dominance or regional interference. Instead, it will prioritize unity among nations that share a commitment to breaking free from the chains of colonial legacy. This ideological and political divide underscores a larger issue: the struggle for self-determination in Africa. While Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger seek to chart a path toward economic independence and regional unity, nations like Ghana and Ivory Coast appear content to maintain their historical ties to France. Ghana's leadership, for instance, has often highlighted the benefits of its relationship with France, including development aid and economic cooperation, which critics view as perpetuating dependency. The Sahel Confederation represents a bold step toward redefining West Africa's political and economic landscape. By focusing on cultural and economic similarities and rejecting external manipulation, it seeks to build a foundation for sustainable development and genuine independence. However, the exclusion of nations like Ivory Coast and Ghana also raises questions about the challenges of fostering regional unity in a landscape still shaped by colonial legacies and divergent political ideologies. Chad, a nation with significant cultural and geographic ties to the Sahel, has been identified as a promising candidate for membership. Chad's membership in the Sahel Confederation represents a strategic and symbolic step toward achieving the Confederation's goals of regional unity, self-reliance, and resilience against external interference. This move highlights the growing emphasis on shared cultural, economic, and security interests as the driving forces behind the Confederation's expansion. President Ibrahim Traoré of Burkina Faso extended an invitation to Chad following discussions with Chad's Minister of Culture, underscoring the cultural and regional alignment between Chad and the existing Confederation members Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger. Although Chad is not part of the West African ECOWAS bloc, its potential inclusion in the Sahel Confederation underscores the Confederation's prioritization of cultural and regional affinities over traditional political alignments. Chad's admission carries several implications for the growth and objectives of the Sahel Confederation. Chad shares numerous cultural and socio-economic characteristics with its Sahelian neighbors. Its inclusion would enhance the cohesion of the Confederation, fostering a collective identity based on shared heritage and experiences. This unity aligns with the Confederation's mission to build a stable, culturally integrated regional bloc. Traoré envisions the Sahel Confederation as an independent entity resistant to external economic exploitation, particularly neo-colonial influences. Chad's addition would amplify this vision, expanding the Confederation's resources, market potential, and regional influence, while simultaneously reducing individual member states' vulnerability to external pressures. Like its Sahelian counterparts, Chad faces significant threats from terrorism and armed conflicts. Its membership could enhance the Confederation's collective security framework, allowing for more coordinated responses to threats. A unified approach to security issues would not only protect member states, but also create a stronger deterrent against foreign interference. President Traoré's vision for the Sahel Confederation is deeply rooted in anti-colonial ideology, particularly his rejection of French influence in West Africa. He has consistently criticized neo-colonial practices that perpetuate economic dependency and political subservience, advocating instead for a grassroots-driven governance model. This vision seeks to replace externally imposed systems, such as French-style constitutions, with frameworks inspired by African traditions and values. Traoré emphasizes that governance should reflect the aspirations and needs of the people, not the interests of foreign powers. His insistence on participatory constitutional reform is a testament to his commitment to self-determination. He views the Confederation as a platform to realize this vision, creating a union built on equality, cultural solidarity, and mutual respect. The potential inclusion of Chad also underscores the Confederation's strategic aspirations. By expanding to include Chad, the Confederation would gain a more extensive geographical footprint and stronger political leverage in regional affairs. Chad's participation could serve as a catalyst for further expansion, inspiring other like-minded nations with similar cultural and economic backgrounds to join. Moreover, Chad's membership signals a deliberate shift in regional alliances, emphasizing independence from traditional neo-colonial influences and prioritizing intra-African cooperation. This reflects Traoré's broader objective of establishing a new model of African unity, one that resists external dominance and champions sovereignty. As the Sahel Confederation grows, its potential to redefine the political landscape of West Africa becomes increasingly evident. By rejecting the status quo of neo-colonial relationships and embracing a vision of self-reliance, the Confederation challenges the dominance of external powers in the region. Chad's potential membership reinforces this trajectory, highlighting the Confederation's commitment to fostering a united front against external interference. Chad's possible inclusion in the Sahel Confederation is a pivotal development that aligns with Traoré's anti-colonial vision. It reinforces the Confederation's goals of regional unity, economic independence, and security collaboration. By emphasizing shared cultural and economic foundations, the Confederation aims to build a resilient, self-determined alliance that serves as a beacon of hope for a new era of African unity and sovereignty. President Ibrahim Traoré's broader goal of removing French imperialism from Burkina Faso is a clear reflection of his strong anti-colonial stance. His vision for the Sahel Confederation is rooted in the desire to prevent economic exploitation within the Union by excluding countries with more advanced economies, such as Ghana and Ivory Coast. By doing so, Traoré aims to foster an environment of equality and mutual respect between the member states. This deliberate exclusion is part of a broader strategy to ensure that the Confederation is built upon a solid foundation of shared cultural and economic values. Traoré's ultimate aim is to create a stable, just confederation that remains free from external influence, particularly financial exploitation, and to establish a governance framework that reflects the aspirations of its people. Traoré's anti-colonial sentiment is also embedded in his critique of global power dynamics. He is deeply committed to governance and growth that is not dictated by outside forces, but rather shaped by the collective will of the nations involved. He seeks a vision where nations with similar cultural and economic backgrounds come together to form a confederation that serves their collective needs and interests, rather than those of foreign powers. This vision stems from a deep-rooted resistance to the lingering legacy of colonialism, which has been perpetuated through both violent neocolonialism and the more subtle but pervasive forces of imperialism and terrorism in the region. A key component of Traoré's vision is how the Sahel Confederation plans to address the security issues that plague the region. The Sahel has been beset by armed conflicts and terrorism for years, with significant challenges in terms of regional stability. Since 2012, Traoré has been outspoken in criticizing ECOWAS and its Western allies for their insufficient response to these security challenges, particularly in terms of countering terrorism. Traoré draws attention to Burkina Faso's own efforts to improve its security situation, including the recruitment of nearly 100,000 civilian volunteers to enhance the nation's defense capabilities. In response to these threats, the Sahel Confederation envisions a collective approach to security, one in which the member states collaborate and pool their resources to effectively combat external threats. Traoré's vision emphasizes solidarity among the member nations, with a focus on mutual defense. This approach encourages countries to support one another and work together to address the region's security challenges. By fostering closer cooperation and coordination, the Confederation can strengthen its ability to maintain peace and stability, making it less susceptible to outside forces. The Confederation's approach to security aligns with Traoré's broader vision of independence. Just as he aims to rid the Union of external political influence and economic exploitation, he also seeks to eliminate foreign interference in the region's security affairs. By concentrating on shared cultural and economic principles, the Confederation can build a more resilient and self-sufficient security structure that reflects the needs and values of its people, rather than those of external powers. This vision also reflects a commitment to the grassroots approach to governance and development that Traoré has championed throughout his tenure. The role of solidarity in strengthening the Confederation's security capabilities cannot be understated. By fostering a sense of collective responsibility, the member states of the Confederation can develop a coordinated and comprehensive security strategy that addresses the complex issues facing the region. The benefits of this approach are clear. Not only does it enhance the security infrastructure of the Confederation, but it also promotes a deeper sense of unity and mutual support among the member nations. At the core of Traoré's vision is the goal of building a union that is free from the influences of former colonial powers and the economic exploitation that often accompanies such relationships. By focusing on shared cultural and economic values, the Confederation seeks to establish a political entity that prioritizes the interests of its member states over those of external actors. The question of whether all African countries should be allowed to join such a union is a complex one. While the Sahel Confederation has the potential to serve as a powerful vehicle for promoting regional cooperation and self-determination, it also raises questions about which countries prioritize the collective interests of Africa and which might be more inclined to appease Western powers, particularly France. For the Sahel Confederation to achieve its goals, it must ensure that its members are genuinely committed to Africa's independence and development. The exclusion of certain countries, like Ivory Coast and Ghana, is not simply about economic disparities, but about avoiding the influence of countries that may still be too entangled with foreign powers. The Confederation must remain vigilant in maintaining its commitment to African sovereignty, independence, and unity. Therefore, it is not enough for countries to join merely for political or economic convenience. They must align with the core principles of the Confederation and demonstrate a true commitment to Africa's collective future. The issue of who gets to join the Confederation and who doesn't is ultimately a question of values. Values that prioritize African solidarity over external influence and the pursuit of true independence from colonial powers. President Ibrahim Traoré's leadership in shaping the Sahel Confederation reflects a bold vision for Africa's future. His decision to exclude Ivory Coast and Ghana sends a clear message about the importance of sovereignty and the dangers of internal inequality within regional alliances. By focusing on shared struggles and rejecting external exploitation, Traoré is charting a path toward a more unified and independent Africa. The question remains, will other African nations follow this example and prioritize true independence over external alignments? Only time will tell, but the Sahel Confederation stands as a powerful symbol of what is possible when African leaders put the interests of their people first. Tell us what you think in the comments section below. We explore the rich history, culture, and the ongoing struggle for sovereignty in Africa. Join us in this important conversation by subscribing to our channel. By subscribing, you're not just staying informed, you're becoming part of a movement dedicated to reclaiming Africa's rightful place on the global stage. Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss an episode. Let's work together to spread knowledge and inspire change. Thanks for watching.